All right, let's dive into a topic that is absolutely fundamental for understanding urban India, especially if you're preparing for your exams. We're talking about the 74th Amendment Act. This is the constitutional blueprint, the very foundation of urban local self-government. So, let's get right into it. Now, to really get a handle on the 74th Amendment, you've got to see it alongside its twin, the 73rd Amendment. The 73rd gave constitutional status to rural local bodies, the panchayats. Well, the 74th does the exact same thing, but for our cities and towns, the municipalities. They're really two sides of the same local self-governance coin. Okay, here's our game plan. We're going to break this down into 5 parts. We'll start with why this amendment was even needed, then look at the political drama of its failed attempts, the breakthrough that finally made it happen, what it actually added to the Constitution, and finally, the 3-tiered structure it created. So, first up, why did urban governance need a whole constitutional amendment? I mean, cities had local bodies before, right? Well, yeah, but they were often pretty weak, completely at the mercy of state governments. The big idea was to give them real constitutional power and protection. This wasn't a new thought either. It had been pushed by committees for years, especially the National Commission on Urbanization back in 1985. But getting from a good idea to an actual law, that was a total political roller coaster. The journey of what was called the Nagar Panchayats bill, that's just Hindi for the Municipalities bill, was, to put it mildly, a battle. It really exposed the tension in India's federal structure between the central government and the states. And this quote, it absolutely nails the core of the opposition's argument. The big fear wasn't about empowering cities. No, not at all. A lot of state-level parties saw this as a massive power grab by the central government. They believed the center was trying to bypass them and weaken their authority over local matters. That was the heart of the fight. And this political stalemate dragged on for years. First, in 1989, Rajiv Gandhi's government managed to pass the bill in the Lok Sabha, but it hit a brick wall in the Rajya Sabha. Then, a year later, V.P. Singh's government tried again with a new bill, but the government itself collapsed before the bill could pass. It really looked like this whole reform was dead in the water. But as they say, the third time's the charm. When the P.V. Narasimha Rao government came to power in 1991, they picked up the bill again. But this time, they had a very different strategy. They had clearly learned some hard lessons from the past failures. And here it is, the masterstroke. The 1991 bill was surgically altered. They removed all the controversial parts, anything that even sniffed of the censure stepping on the state's toes. By taking that main fear off the table, they managed to build consensus. And with that, the bill finally sailed through both houses of parliament, and the 74th Amendment officially became law in 1993. So the political drama is over. Now, what did the 74th Amendment actually change in the Constitution? Well, this wasn't just a minor tweak. It was a major overhaul. It added an entirely new chapter, giving municipalities a formal, protected constitutional status for the very first time. First up, the Constitution got a brand new section, Part 9A. This is huge. Just like Part 9 is all about panchayats, Part 9A created a dedicated constitutional home for the municipalities. This move elevated them from just being creatures of state law to being mandated by the Constitution itself. Next, a whole new schedule was added, the 12th schedule. The easiest way to think about this? It's the official job description for a municipality. It lays out, in black and white, all the functions and responsibilities that urban local bodies are supposed to handle. It makes their purpose crystal clear. And just how long is this job description? Well, the 12th schedule lists 18 different items. And we're not talking about small tasks. This covers the absolute essentials like urban planning, water supply, and sanitation, but also the big stuff like regulating land use and building roads and bridges. It's a really broad mandate. And finally, to make all of this actually work, a whole new set of articles were plugged into the Constitution, from 243P all the way to 243ZG. These are the nuts and bolts. This is the official rulebook that details how municipalities are created, how their elections work, what their powers are, and how they get their funding. So that's the legal framework, the blueprint in the Constitution. But what does it actually look like on the ground? Well, the amendment sets up a pretty clever and flexible 3-tier system. It's designed to fit all the different kinds of urban areas we have in India, from tiny towns to massive megacities. The Act lays out 3 main types of municipalities. For an area that's in the process of changing from rural to urban, you have a Nagar Panchayat. For your typical smaller city or town, you get a municipal council. And for the big metropolises, you have a municipal corporation. It's a logical, scalable system. So, what in the world is a transitional area? Well, picture a place that's kind of caught between two identities. It's not really a village anymore, but it's not quite a full-blown town either. Like a large village on the edge of a big city, where farms are starting to be replaced by shops and houses. That's the perfect spot for a Nagar Panchayat. Okay, so who gets to decide if an area is a small town or a big city? That power is given to the governor of the state. And they don't just guess, they have to consider a specific set of factors: the population size, how densely populated it is, the revenue it generates locally, and, this is a key one, the percentage of people who work in jobs outside of farming. So we've seen how the 74th Amendment created this powerful constitutional framework. It was a landmark law, no doubt about it. But that brings us to the big question for today. It's one thing to have the rules on paper, but it's another to make them work in reality. So what are the biggest hurdles stopping this amendment from being fully and effectively implemented in India's cities right now? Now that's something worth thinking about.